Hello everybody, welcome to what may be the silliest Total Drama season ever. I am your host, Silly Billy, but you can call me Billy. Total Drama Island has some moments where characters are acting rather silly. But today I am going to prove things could have been so much worse. In this video, we are replaying Total Drama Island, but every character on the show makes the dumbest move possible. What if every episode the players eliminated their least logical choice? How silly could Total Drama Island get? Quick rules. For as long as possible, I will keep myself to the same immunity wins as the actual Total Drama Island. My silliness will mostly be in the strategic aspect. This means I will keep existing storylines more or less intact as long as feasible. Warning, this gets weird fast. Please consider subscribing if you like this idea and want to see more of these types of videos. These are a little experimental, and that's why I'm very interested to see what you think. Alright, got your silly pants on? Let's do this. This episode doesn't have an elimination, so it's largely the same. The only difference is that Heather outs to everyone that she is going to be the main villain of this season, and that you should probably not listen to anything she says. Solid move, Heather. The Bass lose the cliff diving challenge because of the same 3 chickens. But the Bass seem to be 7 parallel chess moves ahead. With the merge in the far future in mind, they decide to preemptively eliminate their strongest contestant. And so, Eva is our first eliminated contestant. Mind you, this is before Eva shows any signs of anger management. They are just basically eliminating the Hulk here. The Bass lose the big sleep challenge, and considering Duncan almost won the challenge for them, obviously he needs to go next. Should've just stayed awake, Duncan. How selfish of you. By the way, this elimination is gonna have some funky repercussions for the rest of the season. It is dodgeball time, and the Gophers lose their first challenge after Owen destroyed the competition but lost to Harold. Clearly, he needs to go next. Never mind the know-it-all who never played. After all, you can't lose when you don't play. The Gophers lose the talent contest. They decide to eliminate Justin, who is literally perfect in any way, shape, or form. Clearly, that means he is the most logical elimination. Luckily, the show would have far better logic for getting him out fourth. Right? We are venturing into the forest, and without Duncan there to tell his horror stories, let us just assume Ezekiel has a couple of good ones up his sleeve. Either way, Jeff ends up getting eliminated this episode. He is one of the only people to not do something silly this episode, and obviously that is cardinal sin number 1. Contestants are tasked to face their worst fears. Clearly, the people who didn't complete their phobia challenge need some time to heal, and therefore, obviously, the Bass eliminates someone who did nicely complete their phobia. Everybody decides to vote for Sadie. Yes, including Katie. After the challenge on Boney Island, Izzy still ruins the challenge with her gigantic homemade bomb. Lashana still angrily claims she will get Izzy out, only for Izzy to go, psych! No you? I'm sure I don't need to tell you who has the more solid argument here. By the way, in the original, Izzy is picked up by the police before getting eliminated. Remember this? It will become important later. Cody still ends up getting mauled by a bear, so by our game logic, he is obviously staying. With Heather and her minions on one hand and Gwen and Trent on the other targeting each other, it wouldn't make sense for them to vote for anyone else, which is exactly why they do so regardless. Izzy and Noah are your 2 choices left, and with Izzy not only having ties to Heather as well as being a stronger contestant, it would only make absolutely no sense to eliminate her. The Gophers lose once again, and they are left with the same conundrum as in the previous episode, only this time Izzy is not able to take Noah's punch. Beth does reveal that she put a curse on her team, but the team immediately forgives her and even commends her for being so honest about it. Sorry Noah, nice knowing ya. In this challenge designed around trust and cooperation, it only makes sense to eliminate the most trustworthy and cooperative guy. As such, DJ is out of here. Ignore the entire challenge here. Harold still decides to break the votes against Courtney, and she goes home. The only difference is that now Duncan isn't here, so Harold has literally no reason to do this other than to be a prick to Courtney, which, in my opinion, makes this the silliest outcome. Just like in the original, Harold gets distracted by boobies. But this time around, the council of men on his team can only respect Harold's actions. As such, they eliminate Katie. Because screw you, that's why. It is time for the merge. Usually this episode has the boys versus girls challenge, but considering that is purely a reward challenge, let's instead take a look at who is still in the running to win Silly Total Drama Island. Like in the original, we have 10 contestants left. From the Gophers, we have the alliance of Heather, Lindsay, and Beth, as well as Gwen and Trent, and of course, Cody, still completely in cos and unable to move after his bear attack. There are 4 more bats in play, being Ezekiel, Tyler, Harold, and Bridget. Literally only Bridget survived in both the original and the silly version. Nice job, Bridget. Anyways, next up is Bridget. But let's see why. Just like in the original, 2 contestants are allowed back on the island. Since Eva and Izzy are both conveniently eliminated already, let's just stick to the original and say that they get to return. Eva targets Bridget specifically instead of her whole remaining team, because obviously that is the silliest thing that Eva could do. But for some unexplained reason, everyone completely relates to Eva's hatred and votes for Bridget. Haha, screw you, Bridget! Heather still causes Trent to cheat on Gwen by kissing him. Gwen is heartbroken because of this. Obviously, the only logical move is to vote Gwen out to get her to a safe location, where she can heal in peace. Bye Gwen, stay safe. Just like in the original, the 5 remaining guys decide on a guys alliance. The girls can't work out an alliance for themselves. Luckily for them, the guys alliance self-sabotages, thinking so far ahead in the game that they preemptively eliminate their strongest guy. Trent is eliminated. Okay, I'm pretty proud of this one. Listen, so they do this bike challenge, right? Well, what if instead of eliminating the worst contestant in it, they decide to eliminate whoever comes in second? I know, hysterical. That would literally be the silliest thing they could ever do. Luckily, the show would never do something this incredibly stupid, right? At this point in the story, only Heather and Izzy are still actually in the race, so it becomes increasingly more difficult to justify these. That being said, in the horror challenge, Chris decides to not punish whoever was the most scared, but actually does the silly thing of eliminating the least scared person. Eva, being the stone cold killer she is, goes down for being too OP. Did you remember that the police would still be coming for Izzy at some point? Well, that moment is right now. Why did they take so long? Well, because everyone is silly, so that must include the police officers as well. Speaking of which, this time they do manage to get to the contestants before Izzy has the time to run off. But the cops mistakenly arrest the other ginger that is still in this show. I have no clue who would partner up with who, but in the end, everybody is up for elimination. In the original, they end up voting for their biggest threat at the million. So, logically, now is the time they vote for their lowest threat. Cody, who has been in a wheelchair not being able to move or speak this entire time, is finally taking an L here. The eliminated contestants imply the losers get to vote one character out of the race, and so they decide to vote their favorite character still in the race, as if these people do not understand the concept of voting. Clearly the dumbest thing they could do. No way the original would do that, right? Anyways, do you remember how everybody respected Beth for cursing her team? Yeah. Because we don't have Owen anymore, there is nobody to create Mr. Coconut. But let's be real here, Izzy would absolutely do this too. And if not her, then any of the 3 others who are acting their silliest. The silly twist of this episode is that Mr. Coconut does not end up getting eliminated. After building an unbreakable bond castaway together, the 4 remaining contestants still decide to eliminate one of their own. Ezekiel reiterates one of his misogynistic beliefs, and because we still have 2 women in the show, naturally that means Tyler is eliminated. At the end of this episode, Chef has to decide who to eliminate. Naturally, Chef eliminates who he respects the most instead. I thought Izzy was a shoo-in for this elimination until I remembered that the girls win immunity here, so the choice is between Ezekiel and a coconut. The question is, who would Chef respect more? Most likely, he would still respect Ezekiel less. So, Mr. Coconut fans, I am sorry, but Mr. Coconut is out. I so wish I could justify sending this freaking coconut to the finale, but Ezekiel makes less sense. The Triple Dark Dare You challenge is here, and we are left with the original first boot, a returning idiot, and the main villain. I'd say this season is properly silly. If we assume the characters to still kind of fill their original spots, then rather than Gwen and Owen teaming up, it would have been Izzy and Zeke taking on Heather. So naturally, that means in this version, Ezekiel declines Izzy's offer because he thinks Heather is actually a nice person. Mind you, she literally told him she was not at the start of all of this. As such, Izzy goes home. The final episode is here. maybe keeping the coldest bingus in this game this long was not such a good idea. Although I like to imagine that the alternative ending to this silly Total Drama Island has Heather actually so intimidated by Ezekiel's sexism that she just gives up. Regardless of who you consider the canon winner, I think both of these would have absolutely been the silliest outcomes for this silly season. But what do you think? How would the elimination order be if everyone made only the dumbest moves? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, please like the video and subscribe for more of this dumb stuff. Today's video is brought to you in part by the loveliest of Silly Billy subscribers, Lone Wolf 93, Daymania DJ, Trap, Madison, Roblox Nowercraft, You'll Lover, Star Wars Timpin, Media Films, Callan Strimbu, Puppyjan, 90, Just X, Lily Rose 55, Corsa Corpse, Jericho Forest, Zeko McGecko, Rift, Creeper XOX, Neil, and Javi Copa, with an extra special thank you to Jessentine, and the name is Chubby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Consider becoming a member yourself for only $2 a month. You get all the advantages of higher tiers, which includes early releases and shoutouts. For now though, I thank you for watching. This has been Silly Billy, and remember, misogyny gets you far in a silly world. Houdoe!